Assalamu alaikum, students. The topic of this presentation is research ethics for university students. This presentation is especially for students of science faculty because they are more actively engaged in research activities. Okay, let's start. Okay, so uh, the idea is good ethical practices lead to good science. We know that the scientific research is becoming increasingly difficult. The number and complexity of rules, journals, publishing, government and university regulations are ever growing. The competition for funding is becoming more and more ruthless, and the criteria exactly to warrant publication in good journals is also rising. Indeed, not just the pressure to publish, but the pressure to publish in the right papers in the right journals is also increasing. Nominally, the preparation of proposals and publications has been ostensibly made simpler by computer technology. Yet, the potential for real research productivity has also been enabled by computers. But taking the help of technology is also very much tricky. It helps to achieve the high levels of knowledge creation and dissemination, but it also enables research fraud and uh, incorrect science. Thus, research ethics are becoming more and more relevant in our society at an increasingly rapid pace, with research misconduct regularly being the subject of news articles in Science, Nature, and other prestigious publications. So, we are actually living in a world that is like a global village where our work is becoming more multidisciplinary and multi-authored. So this fact is making the situation even more complicated. It seems that there is a growing concern about the abuse of students and their mentors. Even some senior students, they are engaged in unethical and non-rational scientific practices. Therefore, to learn good ethics is becoming increasingly important in our society. So, the if you want to follow good ethics, you can judge yourself by asking simple questions. For example, why are you interested in research ethics? What are your motivations for pursuing research? And in what ways are these motivations synergistic or antagonistic with one another? Okay, now here comes a very important difference between morality and ethics. If morality is the foundation that ethics is built upon, research ethics is the top floor that is visible from the air. That moral foundation often has religious, spiritual ingredients and is ingrained in a substance that is far beyond the scope of this presentation. Ethics can be considered a sort of practical morality or professional morality that enables boundaries for the work of research to be played fairly. That is, if we think of problem not so much as in terms of right and wrong, but in terms of ought and ought not, then I think we understand how to prepare, how to pass morality versus ethics. One way to think about research ethics is in terms of best practices in conducting all aspects of research science. That's to maximize benefits and minimize harm. Okay, and now let's first see how science works. So we may have a better conclusion about the ethics and its consequences. Here you can see an illustration that summarizes the flow of science, at least how it is practiced nowadays, with all its necessary components. Science is actually a reiterative loop in which success beget success and failures cause the research loop to be broken. One of the primary drivers for success, as indicated by a completed and reiterative loop, or failure, as indicated by a broken loop, is scientists themselves. Having the best trained people who are eager to do research using best practices are at the heart of all successful science. For the sake of this presentation, we will designate a spot in the loop as the logical endpoint, that's publications. The end product of science is actually new knowledge, which must be canonized as peer-reviewed journal articles. Although there are other legitimate outlets of knowledge dissemination, such as presentation in professional meetings, books, book chapters, patents, and other media, in most cases, a science paper is built on data from well-designed experiments that test hypotheses. While researchers might likely have a hand in designing experiments and formulating hypotheses, there are a group of students who are working in the labs and actually collecting and analyzing data and do most of the writing. Now, there, I think there is a gap between the mentors and the students. Uh, but uh, it is going to work in such a way that professional honesty and professional ethics should be put ahead of other interests. So, arguably, science is the most exciting and invigorating of pursuits and careers with seemingly endless opportunities to create knowledge. With the increased funding and emphasis of scientific research occurring worldwide, science is also growing increasingly complex, with opportunities for funding and publications becoming more and more competitive. We can think of research ethics as a framework for creating a fabric of integrity, which should in turn make research findings stronger and the researcher happier. There are some unacceptable behaviors in research. Uh, in order to avoid these non acceptable behaviors in research, the researchers should scrutinize themselves by asking some questions. For example, why did I decide to enter science as a profession? What were my motivations? Am I generally tempted to cheat? In what ways? If there is some sort of inclination towards that behavior, there are a number of surveys and meta-analysis studies that have been conducted on research misconduct through the years. All of these surveys examined behaviors of scientific misconduct from data taken by surveys. There are some confessions present which are reported in the literature that either group reported much bad behaviors. If researchers are found to be guilty of many of the misconducts where they are cheating with the data, they are falsifying the results, they are falsifying the conclusions. So all this comes in the general category of bad research ethics. Nowadays, science is more in the public eye because science, in most of the developing countries and developed countries, scientific endeavors are supported by public funding, and therefore uh, there are more and more checks on the scientific results, scientific publications. Further, since the logical output of scientific work is publication, patents, and dissemination of data, so scientists across the globe they have access and they can verify what is being presented. So fabrication and falsification of results may benefit the researchers in a very short time, but it is not going to help them in their career or in their professional success. Researchers must ask themselves few questions like what factors of science research might cause you to cheat? For example, How do you deal with pressure? How might these be contracted? How much of a deterrent is embarrassment and punishment? How do the results of the surveys, um, ethical surveys, make us feel about the profession or about yourself? So, all these factors are very important. You may ask yourself, why did I decide to enter science as a profession? What were my motivations? What factors of science can lead us to cheat? So, these are very important questions. Research misconduct is a significant problem in research science, with about an incidence of 33% self reported unethical behavior that is presented in various surveys, and that is only for 3 years periods. So, everyone in science, including scientists, reviewers, editors, and publishers, are responsible for ensuring accurate scientific information. They should ensure that accurate scientific information is reported, and also they are responsible for holding high standards for integrity. Um, that is very important. Other misconducts, for example, plagiarism uh, and false reporting of results, false reporting of data, falsification in the results of the research. All these are bad ethics, and the university students must avoid such mistakes, because these mistakes can lead to uh, a dishonest approach in their professional career and their life. Uh, if you have questions, more questions regarding this presentation, feel free to contact me. You can post your comments, you can post your questions in the comment section below the video. I would be happy to answer those questions. Thank you very much.